Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I'm Dr. Emma Hitt-Nichols, and this is Freelance Medical Writing, a lucrative work-from-home career choice. And if you or if you have to log off for some reason, about an hour or two after this webinar is over, you'll get an automated email that will give you the replay. So don't worry too much, although I would like you to stay on live and listen to the whole thing. That would be great. And let's see here. Anything else I have to do as far as admin goes? Let me see. Nope, I think that's it. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. All right. Okay, so what you'll learn today, you'll learn the skills and background needed for freelance medical writing. You'll learn the types of clients and work that you can get. You'll learn about how much you can make, all important question. And you'll learn about what the work is like a little bit. So that's what I'm going to tell you today. And then I'll also tell you a little bit about a special offer at the end. Some of you on the call may have heard of the 6-week course, so it's kind of related to that, and I'll tell you about that, okay? All right. And this webinar is for you. If you are currently in graduate school for studying science, or you're in clinical practice, or you're in scientific research and not happy. So any of those is a great background, and this is kind of who this webinar is directed to. It's also if you're not currently a full-time freelance or staff medical writer. If you are a freelance medical writer and you happen to jump on this call, that's great. Glad to have you. But this information might be a little basic, okay? I just wanted to warn you. I don't want you to waste your time. And then if you're pretty confident about your writing skills and fluent in English, you sort of have to have that as a baseline in order to start freelance medical writing, or those are definitely skills that you can learn. So that's fine. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about my story. Who am I to, who am I to give this webinar exactly? So I have a bachelor's in biology, and in 2001, I got my PhD in cancer-related molecular biology, and there I am on my graduation day being hooded, and that was very nice. That was at Emory University. And here is me with said diploma, turning around, looking at my family. They took that picture, and I am smiling. And it took me 6 very long years to finish up my PhD, which isn't, out of the range for a science degree. But I can tell you about 3 years into getting my degree, I was completely miserable. I had 5 grumpy old men, let's just put it like that, on my dissertation committee. And I felt like I constantly had to repeat experiments, and I wasn't particularly talented at doing the lab work and that kind of thing. And I felt like I'd put all this time into graduate school, and I didn't know how I was going to finish up the degree. And so it was just a very tough spot to be in. My mother, who's on the call today, would have to listen to me, weeping into the phone every day and that kind of thing. Anyway, I had a dark night of the soul moment, let's put it that way. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I hearkened back to, I had an undergrad teacher in the humanities say that I had considerable talent as a writer, which is, very nice and flattering, but it didn't mean much to me because I was going to go into science. And so, but then I thought, well, if I do like to write, and I have this writing ability, and then maybe I can combine that somehow with science. And so I looked around at the internet, such that it was in 1998, and it turns out science writing was a thing. In fact, there was a National Association of Science Writers, and medical writing, which is what I do, is a subset of science writing. Okay, so I immediately kind of had a direction to go in, and I thought, well, I'll just be a science writer. And I said at the time, if this kind of career path works out for me, and I become this, and I am able to do it, then I hope that I can help others do the same thing. If they're stuck, like I was, if I can help them in any way get into medical writing, if it works out, please let me do that. And thank you. That's so great. So fast forward 20 years later, that's kind of what's happened. And it's been really great. It has worked out. In 2001, which is when that picture was taken, I was able to go full-time freelance with HIT Medical Writing. And let's see here. And in 2003, I completed my master's in technical professional communication. And I was able to hang up my shingle right after graduate school and go full-time freelance. And it was a busy time. I had more work really than I could handle. And I was getting busier and busier. I was working, 50, 60 hours a week just on medical writing projects, and just was very, very busy. And also at the same time, I had people asking me, how do you get into medical writing? How do you do that? All the time, like at least once or twice a week, I'd get an email about that. And so in 2011, I wanted to bring on subcontractors to try to help out with all the work. And then I also wanted to teach people about getting into medical writing just like I had. And the problem with bringing on subcontractors in 2011 was that, you can look at someone's resume and look at one of their writing samples, and you can't really tell how they're going to do on a project. So there were a few sleepless nights where I had to kind of redo projects before they went to clients. And so that was painful. And so the 6-week course had a way of helping people get into medical writing. They wanted that information. And then also I was able to identify people that could effectively subcontract with me. So that had a kind of a dual purpose. So that was back in 2011. It was a rudimentary version of the course and a bunch of PDFs basically. So anyway, we continue on to 2015, and that was HIT Medical Writing. I restructured it with my business partner, and we have a 50% ownership, and we formed Nascent Medical LLC, which is what the company is now. And in 2018 or 19, that's kind of now, we're ramping up Nascent Medical. We're crazy busy, as this whole industry is really busy, it seems like. And we're actually developing kind of an online platform so that we can match clients better with subcontractors and just build it up a little more, even more than it is. So that's great. And it's a very exciting time. And I'm just going to look really quick to make sure everything is going okay on the... Oh, there's a video delay, really? Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I'll try to keep that in mind. Okay. So, all right. So here we are. Okay. Oh, and I show you this slide. These are some of my loved ones. This is one thing that I couldn't have imagined when I went into medical writing 20 years ago was that the importance for me personally of being able to work at home with my family. And I can't imagine spending, 40, 60 hours a week away from my family. It's not feasible. I didn't know that at the time when I was going into medical writing, but it worked out really well. And this is Mr. Nichols, and very handsome Mr. Nichols. And my daughter, who was 11 there, I married my current husband about 5 years ago. And then here she is a few weeks ago, turning 15 and on her birthday. And so, it was really amazing. I've been able to be there for them. I can run things up to her high school. She forgets things, so I have to run up to her high school, and I'm there during the day to be able to do that. So it's just a really great thing to be able to be there for my family. And if that is something that's important to you too, definitely something to consider when you're talking about getting into medical writing. Picture was taken a few weeks ago. Husband and I snuck off to London. This is taken from a rooftop restaurant in Trafalgar Square, overlooking the London Eye. And I'm from London originally, so I like to go back a couple of times, once a year at least. And I'm able to do that. I took my laptop with me, and I probably work 6 to 8 hours a day. But we were able to sneak over there and hang out and use our Sky Miles and basically have a great time. So medical writing is location independent. All right. Okay, so I wanted to give, first of all, before I go cover anything, I wanted to talk about AMWA.org. So it's American Medical Writers Association, and they have done a fantastic job. If you go to their website, it's really like going to Disneyland for medical writers. It's got so much information and online courses and all kinds of things. It's really gotten very good. And so definitely that's the first place to go if you have any more than a passing interest in medical writing. Go to that AMWA.org. And also they have local chapters. And if you get in with the local chapter and go to a couple of meetings and then even volunteer as one of the officers, you'll make good contacts, and that'll be a really good way to get started in your career and get to know people. All right. So what kind of skills and background do you need to become a medical writer? Skills and background. Here we go. Here's the education level. Now, this is data from the AMWA salary survey for 2007 through 15. And this is older data, right? So they're doing actually another salary survey in 2019. It'll be good to see if there's any changes, but you can see at least 40% of people have an advanced degree. So not just a master's, but an advanced degree in some kind of degree. It could be English or science. So that pretty much shows you that many of your colleagues would have that kind of advanced degree. And also here is in 2015, about half of people had a degree in a science. All right. And so you don't have to have really any kind of educational background, but the reason I sort of have a preference for it is that most people, most types of medical writing, have the requirement of synthesizing lots of data, okay? And I remember as a graduate student, sitting there with 30 papers on my desk and reading through all of them and crunching huge amounts of data to synthesize that. And that skill in graduate school or even medical school or whatever background you have it's exactly the same thing you do all day as a medical writer. And so it becomes very useful in a kind of training to do medical writing. And that's why I kind of think it's a good degree to have. These are kind of the skills that are helpful. Obviously, you need Microsoft Word, and everybody knows that. And I don't think you even really need all the bells and whistles of Microsoft Word. You don't really need to understand macros and some of the sophisticated things, but definitely, track changes, comments, split screen, some of the referencing, footnote kinds of functions are useful to know. Adobe Acrobat Pro, you don't need a lot of that, but it helps to sign contracts and some other things, and mock up PDFs for annotations and that kind of thing. PowerPoint is useful, especially because sometimes clients want projects done in PowerPoint slides. And if you have a good knowledge of that, and also you don't have to be a graphic designer, but if you're able to create nice looking slides and you know what that looks like or what that should be, that's a helpful skill to have as a medical writer. An Excel spreadsheet is also useful. Excel, obviously. I used that for many years to keep my invoices straight and to know when to invoice clients and when somebody paid me and which projects are due. And I used Excel and that took care of all of that. So it's good to know that. And also sometimes you use it to do referencing and keywords and stuff for clients where you're sorting out or organizing references for things. Excel is useful. And then PubMed is obviously very important, and there are tutorials on PubMed that are very good to look at. And then there's also referencing software like EndNote is useful. And then finally, accounting software. If you're freelancing, you want to run your business correctly and have all the proper accounting procedures in place. All right, so we have the AMWA Essential Skills Certificate, which is very useful. And these are some of the workbooks available on the AMWA.org website. You've got basic grammar and usage for biomedical communicators, elements of medical terminology, essential ethics for medical communicators, punctuation for clarity and style, sentence structure and patterns, statistics for medical writers and editors, and tables and graphs. So if you work your way through all of those, that's very useful information. Okay, so what kind of characteristics do you need to have as a medical writer? And this is, I've done no real hard research on it. All of this has just been like 20 years of observing who seems to enjoy the career and do well at it, and also my own personal characteristics that I think help me do it. I would say, let's see, what do we got here? Ability to focus is probably the number one thing. If you're the kind of person that can't focus, like maybe you're really good with people and you're good on a sales call or something like that, then the ability, and you don't have that ability, it's not going to work out probably for you to be a medical writer. And I've had, a few people go through the 6-week course and they've done well and they've done everything, but they just told me they don't want to do that. They've just realized that they don't want to sit there all day and focus. And so that's not for everybody. It helps if you enjoy your solitude, basically because really if you're not by yourself thinking and writing and typing, then you're not really working. So it helps if you enjoy solitude. It helps if you're analytical. So you've got the left brain working well, but it really helps if you have both sides of the brain working. So the right brain too is good for medical writing, but especially this analytical left brain side. It helps you, it's absolutely necessary for you to be precise and accurate, especially when you're really trying to be, right? So we all make mistakes, obviously, but if you can't type in numbers correctly and things like that, you're going to have a real problem. And so being precise and accurate is really important. There's probably, what is this, 7 words. There's probably one single word that would encapsulate this right here, big picture simultaneously with attention to detail. But basically you have to be able to let's say you're writing a manuscript. So you have to be able to look at manuscripts and say, does it serve its purpose for the audience? So the big picture, and is it well organized? And then all the way down to the detail of, did I say microgram instead of milligram, and that kind of thing. So big picture, all the way down to attention to detail. And if anybody comes up with a word for that, let me know. Okay. Let's see. And then also to be organized is really helpful, especially when you're freelancing and you've got multiple clients. If you're disorganized, then it's going to be tough. And then finally, it really helps if you're client-oriented and easygoing. You don't have to be, really outgoing or anything, but it really helps if you have a sense of humor sometimes dealing with clients, and helps if you're easygoing. All right. That's true of most things, right? Other considerations about medical writing. Some of the comparable professions, I was just thinking about this, you got CPAs, lawyers, and data scientists, and I'm sure there are others, but those are very similar kinds of occupations where you're kind of dealing with data, information, and you're crunching it, and you have to explain things to others. So very similar professions to medical writing. And it should be noted that medical writing is business to business, which is a nice part of it. I watched my husband dealing with his clients. He's a family law attorney and dealing with his clients, and that's business to consumer. And that's actually even more challenging sometimes than business to business. And so that's a benefit of the profession of medical writing. Also, it's a small industry. There's not that many people in it. I think, I'm not sure how many members AMWA has, maybe 10,000, something like that. And I know on the hit list, the jobs list, we've got about 10,000 subscribers. So that's not that many, right? People have hundreds of thousands of subscribers to their newsletter, and I'm happy to have 10,000, but that's just it's a small medical writing world. And so there's a big dependence on reputation and word of mouth, all right? So it's good, it can work for you or against you, okay? So that's a little bit how it is. And then it's a business that repeats, okay? So any client that gives you work is probably going to have more work to be able to give you. And so if you don't get that work, if you don't get more work from a client, there might be something wrong. So it's important to check into that. So a business that wouldn't be like that is like, let's say, a real estate agent, where you'll sell somebody a house one time and they won't move again for 10 years. So you might refer them to somebody, but you won't need their services again for a long time. But medical writing is ongoing, which is a great thing. You don't have to market too well other than just do a really good job as much as possible. All right. Okay, what are some of the types of clients and the work that you can do? Types of clients and work. All right, types of clients. All right, we've got several. Okay, we've got pharmaceutical companies, medical news organizations, medical education companies, medical associations, and there's a long list of these. Okay, I don't need to read them out, but you can see there's a wide variety, but they all have in common that they put out written materials that have to do with medicine. All right, so that's basically the common denominator there. I'm sure I've missed some on here. I'm trying to think. I should have put also like hospitals and medical organizations too on here. Okay. And then this is from the AMWA salary survey. You can see this is 2007, 2011, 2015, and there were more pharma. These are actually medical writers and where they were employed. That's how they answered, and so a lot more people were employed with pharma than they are now, and more people are employed with contract research organizations, which is kind of interesting. Maybe more outsourcing going on in 2015. But you can see these are the basic categories that AMWA gave for medical writing employees to categorize themselves. Okay. All right. And then these are some of our clients at Nascent Medical. We have many more, but these are some that you might have heard of. We've got a medical association. This is a government lab. We've got a biotech company, WebMD, obviously Medscape, Practice Update. That's a journal. This is a charitable foundation. So all different kinds of organizations that we have as an example here. All right, so types of projects. Again, we've got news, sales training, which is pharma trains their salespeople internally, and medical writers write that. Needs assessments, which is part of getting funding in the CME, continuing medical education industry. We have manuscripts, which is a big thing. We do a lot of those. Posters for conferences, PowerPoint slides, editing and proofreading, feature articles, web content, medical science liaison modules, the training similar to sales training, abstracts, white papers, summaries, research and referencing, and there's other things I probably haven't even touched on there, but there's many, many diverse types of writing, okay? How much can you make? All right, so this is information from the 2015 AMWA salary survey. And you can see here the gross income for writers and editors is 131. So some will make more, some will make less. And so you can see it's definitely a six-figure pursuit. And the hourly rate's over $100 an hour. And I can tell you from my experience, my first year out of school, I probably made $90,000 in the first year out, completely freelancing. And then after that, I've always made six figures, and you know, up over like 200 has been common, 200 a year. And I have other like medical writing friends who can say the same thing. So it's a very lucrative profession if you're organized and you do a good job, and a few caveats, but it's definitely possible. One of the concerns that I get from MDs going into medical writing is, you know, can I replace my MD income? And yeah, you can. Absolutely, it's possible. All right, how much can you make? Continued. Okay, so the math on all of that. So for example, and this is just for example, all right, so let's say 250 working days, all right, so you get weekends off and holidays off and a couple of weeks of vacation. Not that it really works like that, but let's just say you work 250 days in a year. And you have to make $400 a day, and that will bring you up to $100,000 a year. Okay, and to make $400 as a medical writer, maybe you're working on something that you're billing $1 per word. So that's definitely doable. Now, sometimes you're going to bill more, sometimes less, but to write 400 words every working day is, it's not going to be hard. Okay. And about 2%, 10 to 20% of the time you're going to spend on administrative tasks, and obviously you can't bill for those. All right, what's medical writing like? All right, some of the pros. All right, we have, it's very, like, autonomy is just the best thing. I think that's my number one value. I love to have the control over my day and my schedule. It's really great. And also what I wear, sweatpants usually, and, just, it's great. No makeup. Ongoing education, and I combine that with it's interesting and cutting edge. So you're all, like anybody with a PhD, philosophy, doctor of philosophy, right? Philosophy is love of knowledge. I think most of us have that in common. We love to learn. And medical writing, it just absolutely provides that. You're always learning something new about the topic of medicine. So that's awesome. It's a white collar kind of thing. The worst thing that can happen is that you get a paper cut. And even then, I never print anything out anymore. So you don't even get paper cuts. But it's nice. It's a nice air-conditioned environment if you like that. It's also very ethical. In 20 years of medical writing, I personally have never been asked to, fudge data or make something look a certain way. And I don't know what happens sometimes after I've written something, but it's always been very ethical, and you have to be ethical. You have to write the truth. You always have to look things up and make sure you're writing something accurate. It's one of the AMWA ethical codes, and so it's good like that. There's nothing unethical about medical writing. And then it's lucrative, as I mentioned. And then there are some. This is still the pros. You can also work from anywhere, and I've mentioned that. All right, cons. Okay, it is very brain intensive, and having done medical writing for 40 to 60 hours a week for years, I have a feeling that my brain has been a little used up on that. So this day and age, I do a little less and brain intensive writing, and it can be a little challenging that way. It can be dull and isolating for some people if you're not used to it. It can sometimes be stressful because of clients and then deadlines too. They can pile up on you and become stressful. This is interesting. It lacks the wow factor. And by the wow factor, like if you tell somebody you're a pediatrician or an internal medicine doctor, everyone's like real impressed. But if you tell somebody you're a medical writer, usually you'll get a blank stare because they're not quite sure what that is. And when you explain it, they're like, oh, okay, great. And then you're like, the best thing is that you work from home, right? But I'm willing to forego all the wow factor for having autonomy over my day and all the other pros. So, but anyway, it's something to think about, especially if you have had spent some of your career as a medical doctor. Everyone's impressed with that, and with medical writing, not so much. All right. And then it just has that conveyor belt kind of feeling sometimes, and like you've always got a homework or something. You're never really done with all your projects, and actually, if you are, it means you have no work. So it's kind of it's a conveyor belt, put it that way. But I think a lot of jobs are like that too. Oh, what else? Oh, yeah, cash flow and late pay issue. That can be a real pain when you're working as a freelance, and so you have to really make sure that you have the reserves and you don't get in a situation where you don't have any money. That's not good. So that's a problem. All right, and the nascent medical writers, I polled some of them, and they said pretty much the same thing. These are their favorite things: were a flexible schedule, ongoing education, dress code, no commute, and good income. All right. Okay. So what if you want to get into medical writing? All right. So there are a few options. You don't have to get a formal degree in medical writing. You can probably go on the AMWA website and take all the essential skills certificates and build up your resume and that kind of thing. You can go to the University of Sciences in Philadelphia. It's a very good program, but it's going to cost you about $60,000. All right. And that's just the tuition. It's going to take you 2 years. And so that's pretty pricey. You can also do something like get the medical writing and editing certificate, and that's going to take you about 1 to 2 years, and that's going to cost you over $8,000. And this program, actually, I emailed them, reached out to them yesterday, and I was asking them whether they actually give you feedback on your writing and your editing, and they do that, so that's great. But I don't think that they tell you much about setting up your business and the business side of setting up freelancing. So that's that. And then the School of Hard Knocks, which is free. It's free. And actually, it's kind of what I did, but it takes you a few years to get everything straight. And so anyway, but it's free, so you can do it that way too. I just wanted to spend the last few minutes talking about the 6-week course. It's been going again since 2011, and it's everything you need to start everything you need to know to start your freelance medical writing business. This is a long name, but basically that kind of describes what it's supposed to be. So during the course, there's 6 weeks, and it's called the 6-week course, but it doesn't have to be done in 6 weeks. Okay, it's lifetime access, and so it can be done in 6 weeks, but many people can't get it all done in 6 weeks, put it that way. So week 1, I talk about medical writing basics. Week 2 is setting up shop. So setting up shop, setting up your website, LinkedIn profile, whether you should be in an LLC. Okay, week 3, I talk about medical news writing. Week 4, continuing medical education, which is a big segment of the medical writing industry. Week 5, feature article writing, health related. And then week 6 is all about running your business. So how to give an estimate on a project, what questions to ask the client when they give you a project, how to invoice a client, that kind of thing. So all those little things where you really can't find that information out, and it really helps to have kind of somebody that's experienced to tell you. And then in addition to those 6-week modules, this what I'm talking about here, the 6-week course, it includes feedback on your work. And it's in these 6 areas. This is kind of a new way of doing it we have, but we have modules on proofreading and editing, referencing and annotation, news writing, PowerPoint, needs assessments, and manuscripts. Okay, so those are modules, and once you turn your work in, you'll get detailed written feedback on your work. And then you can also use, like, if you write a news piece, you could use that as a sample on your website. And it's really great when clients want a sample, all right, of your writing. You can show them, you'll have something to show them. Even if it's not published, you can still use it. All right. Okay. And then the 6-week course also has other benefits. There's a closed Facebook group, and in that Facebook group, you will have interaction with other experienced medical writers, many of them, and then also regular Facebook live sessions. I jump in there and do Facebook live sessions. And then finally, a big benefit too is the potential to work with Nascent Medical, our company. And our standards are really high, I like to say. And so we're a business, and so we need to be very trusting of whoever we ask to do writing for us, obviously. So we can't guarantee that somebody would have projects from Nascent Medical, but we require that all 6 feedback tests are passed, and that there's evidence of fluent English. And then we also require an advanced science degree. That's not to say you have to have that to be a medical writer, but you have to have it to work for Nascent. And the course also gets you set up to find whatever other clients you want. All right. So the goal is not to work for us, but it is to set you up and get all kinds of clients, and maybe us also. All right. Hope that makes sense. Okay. And I just wanted to go through a couple of people I was very proud of. I asked a few of the writers who'd been through the course and had done some work for Nascent, and I got many responses, which was really awesome. And I put those together in a PDF file, which is here, 6weekcourse.com/transitions. So if you click on that link or type in that link, then you'll be able to access a PDF, and it has multiple stories. I call them stories, but people that have like changed their lives from working in a lab or being an MD and going into medical writing through the course. And this is Jessica Martin. She's on the chat right now. Hi, Jessica. And she's answering your questions and stuff. And she took the 6-week course, actually, I think a couple of years ago now. And she is a very successful freelancer. She does a lot of work with us. And she says, by the time I graduated with my PhD, I was earning far more medical writing than I ever had in graduate school, all while working from home and doing a job that I love. So that's really great. I hope you still love it, Jessica. All right. And then we have Krithika Subramanian, or I call her K-Sub for short. She got her PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology. She completed the course, and she's a successful freelancer now. She says, I started on projects for my first clients within a month of the course, including some projects for Nascent Medical. So she's doing really well. Then we have Will Pass, who is a veterinarian, and he completed the 6-week course. He's doing really well, and said, after realizing my freedom, I moved to London. That's the best part. If you have your laptop, then you have your job no matter where you want to go. So that's really great. He's able to move over there. And then Casey Durbin, MD. She's a practicing physician who now works as a hospitalist, and she went through the 6-week course. She says, I've almost paid off my student loans with the extra money. And she's got quite a few projects from Nascent. So awesome. So if you want to see more of those, you can go to 6weekcourse.com/transitions. Okay, there's that. All right, so how much am I talking about here for the 6-week course? I mean, it is available anytime you want. Now you can go on to this link here and purchase it. But okay, so it's $1,497 for the 6-week course modules, and then the 6 feedback modules, and then everything else, you know, the Facebook group, and then maybe the chance to work with Nascent. Okay, so that's available at 6weekcourse.com/bundle. All right. So these are some of the links. Again, 6weekcourse.com/bundle. And then if you want to view the free content that I have at the school, the 6-week course school, if you want to just view some of the content and then have the opportunity to purchase these components separately, so rather than like paying all that money, just pick out what you want. They are available separately. It's a little pricier to do it that way, but if you go to learn.6weekcourse.com, you need to kind of sign up real quick, and then you'll be able to access all of that and all the information. So that's kind of our version of a payment plan, if you will. All right. And if you just want more information on the 6-week course, there's 6weekcourse.com. And then again, that link to look at people who are now medical writers that have been through the course, 6weekcourse.com/transitions. All right. All right, here's one from, I'll answer this one from Wendy. Does the advanced degree requirement for your course mean PhD, MD, DBM, not a master's degree? You can take the course no matter what your degree is. And I think that you will have, you will be able to get into medical writing with a master's degree, especially if it's a science degree. For the only part that won't work is most likely is to subcontract for Nascent for us, because we do kind of require that PhD, PharmD, MD level kind of writer, mostly because that's the kind of work we do and it requires it. but there's nothing to stop you taking the course if you have that degree. All right. Another thing people often ask me is, how long does it really take to transition from, like, let's say I'm working full-time in a clinic somewhere as a clinician. How long would that take to transition over into full-time medical writing? Well, first of all, like anything, it's how much time do you have to give the process, right? If you're working 40 hours a week, then it's going to be challenging to come home and do additional work and try to find clients. But it's definitely possible, all right? So if maybe you could go to a part-time, and especially the ability to check your email during the day while you're working is really important if you have clients, because they work kind of business hours. And so if they have a quick question about, maybe you've turned in a project to them and then they can't reach you for 24 hours, that's going to drive them crazy. Okay. But these days we all have access to our email, right? Unless if you're in a job that you don't have that access, then that's going to be challenging. I've had people in the course both ways, right? So I've had people transition slowly over months, and that's worked out really well for them. I've had people with 3 months worth of savings just throw themselves into getting clients and getting set up, and boom, there they go. They're freelance medical writers all of a sudden, and it's great. But it has to do with the amount of work that you put into it, right? So if you don't have your first client, you spend your 40 hours trying to get a client. And if you spend 40 hours trying to get a client, emailing and making connections, then you should have like several clients after doing that. So, simple, not easy, right? Okay. Easy, not simple. However that saying goes. All right. There is a question about Nutan. Hi, Nutan. Does the 6-week course do regulatory writing? We actually don't. Our company does some regulatory writing, but it's never been my specialty, so I've not felt comfortable teaching it. But I tell people to go to raps.org. That's RAPS.org, Regulatory Affairs Professional Society, and they have a lot of information about regulatory writing. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely go to that website, raps.org. All right. Anything else? Jessica, will you text me if there's anything that I should answer, or any questions or anything like that? Kathy Adamson says, do you offer payment installments monthly, or does the course fee have to be paid in full? You can go to learn.6weekcourse.com. That's this link right here. And you can purchase the components separately. It's going to be a little more pricey to do it that way, but you can do that. So check it out if you're interested. All right. Okay, well, this has been so much fun. Is there anything else? Let's see. Oh, Jessica's got a few questions. Okay. Hold on a second, guys, gals. Okay. Yes. Okay. Lots of questions about whether you can subcontract with Nascent without taking the course. No, sorry. Nope. We have a couple of people that have many years ago came in not through taking the course, but it's a very rare exception. And we really need to see how people do first before we bring people on. That's just how we do it. So, but you can get your other clients and it's all good, right? Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Take care. Thank you.